Lovelies, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, welcome. I would love to have you subscribe and join the tribe. So today's video I'm super excited about. We are going to be talking about responsibility charts. I did a kind of a poll and talked a little bit about this on my Instagram stories a couple months back, and I've been working on the blog post that accompanies this video for a while now, but it is time to film the video. I had a lot of interest. You guys seemed super excited about it. I had tweaked this responsibility chart and system over the past several months to a place where it really works for me and works for my kids. So I wanted to make sure I was really testing it out for a while before I shared it with you, to let you know that for sure it does work, and the way it has changed my kids' behavior and changed my behavior as well, like less yelling, less nagging, if you know where I'm going with that. Anyways, if you're interested, keep watching. So like I said, I had designed one a while ago, but I had it on the blog, but I totally overcomplicated it. You had magnets for it was just too much. So I was just trying to simplify it. That's been kind of a constant theme in my life of the past year or so. So I was just trying to simplify it for you and be able to just articulate to you guys how easy this is, and just make it easier for you. So that's why it's taken me a while to get it out. I wanted to start with a quick disclaimer. My kids are pretty eager to please. They're just very sweet by nature. They're not overly strong-willed children, except for our youngest, our little foster love, is extremely strong-willed. So we'll see how this works with her as she gets older, if she's still with us. But I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer, because I know if you're dealing with particularly strong-willed kids, this might not be the best system for them. But if you have generally pretty happy, eager to please kids, I think this is a fabulous system. I think it will work really well for you. It's worked amazing for my family. But again, just wanted to throw out that disclaimer. So to start off, I call this a responsibility chart, not a chore chart, because I believe chores are responsibilities as being a part of our family. I also believe that good behavior is a responsibility. So that's why I call it a responsibility chart, which covers chores and good behaviors. I was also looking for a way, my girls are 5 and now 7. My oldest just turned 7 last week. So I was also looking a way to start implementing an allowance system that was a little more complicated. They've been getting an allowance for a while, but it was just like $1 here or $2 a week if they were helpful. There wasn't really like a specific system. But now that they're older and can understand, I wanted to implement something. I wanted to teach them about tithing, about saving, and about their spending money. So just, budgeting a little bit. All of this kind of comes into play with this responsibility system. We've always been pretty strict about routines, reminders that our kids are part of the family team, which means they are responsible for some of the household responsibilities. I know, back when I was a kid, I had an allowance and I had to do things, and I think my generation was raised a little bit harder than the next generation of kids, where, helicopter parenting really kind of took over and parents did everything for their kids. And I think we see that a little bit in the workplace now. I know I've talked to my brother-in-law, and he said the amount of parents that call in sick for their kids for their jobs, or call and question why they didn't get a job after an interview, or call to make the interview. He's like, it's just pathetic how involved parents are. As a parent, you are raising strong, confident, contributing members of society. I believe that is one of your major roles as a parent, not to do everything for them. So if you have the same kind of mindset as me, I think this is going to work. I've always made good character building a priority in our parenting, and we have some simple expectations of our children. That is to be kind, to be helpful, and to be respectful. I'm going to brag on my kids a little bit here. They're awesome. People, kids and adults alike, like to be around them. They compliment them on their attitudes. And I know part of it is just their nature, but part of it is our parenting. My husband and I are very intentional about our parenting. It's not something we just kind of react and, as they develop and grow, then we just adapt. Myself in particular, I read a lot of books about parenting, listen to podcasts. I'm a foster parent, so I do a ton of training on trauma parenting and attachment parenting. So I like to kind of joke, I'm literally licensed to parent as a foster parent. So I just want to say that this is coming to you from a place of intentionality. I've really done my research and also trial and error. My kids are not older. I can't speak to kids over 7. This is really focusing for around that age, or maybe a little bit older, because I see this working for us for the next few years, but I can't talk about tweens or anything like that because I don't have experience. But right now, my kids are awesome kids. They don't really talk back. They're very respectful. They're very helpful. They're very kind. And again, a lot of that I think is because they're foster sisters. So that's taught them a lot of good character traits. I know you think you have pretty awesome kids too, and I'm sure a lot of you do. Maybe you're struggling or looking for a system to help with behaviors or talk back or just unwillingness to help, not respectful, those sort of things. Well, that is what I have for you today. So I think I've gone on and on enough about what it is, so let's get into how it works. Search the internet for a system that would work for us and many other kids because I do want to share it with you guys. I know you've enjoyed some of my parenting tip videos before. So what I found through my research are systems that use points that, depending on how many points the child got for that day, they either got rewards or consequences. Systems that were very heavy on the positive reinforcement side, systems that were very heavy on the routine side, systems that were only implemented to get out of a grounding or timeout, and systems that outline house rules and consequences for not doing those said house rules. Every child is different and different systems are going to work better for different personality types. So if the system that I'm about to introduce doesn't seem right for your kid, that's okay. There's tons out there. The facts are children need structure and routine to thrive. The facts are so many kids struggle with negative behaviors because they're unclear of their expectations. The facts are moms are more overwhelmed than ever because we want to give our kids the world and we're the ones that end up with all the housework. The facts are many children grow up not knowing how to handle money as they grow into young adults. The facts are bullying and disrespect is a huge problem in this day and age. Let's talk about allowance first. Money management was never my strongest suit, and there's been times in my life where I've really struggled with debt, over-consuming, over-purchasing, not saving or tithing, and I really want things to be different for my kids because I think when you have a good understanding of money and how it works, that it really sets you up for a successful future. I want them to know the value of $1 and how far that goes. I want them to understand budgeting, saving, and the importance of giving to the Lord and others. I want them to understand that money doesn't just flow out of mommy and daddy's pocket. It doesn't grow on trees, that you have to work hard for it. Next, let's discuss behaviors. There's a few behaviors that I want to instill in my children, positive behaviors. Kindness, to put others before themselves. Helpful, respectful, to be good listeners, have good manners at the table. I have some behaviors I do not tolerate. Whining, talking back, disrespect, disobedience, and rude manners at the table. Now, these may be different for you, but for me and my husband, these are priorities of the behaviors that we want to see in our children and the behaviors we don't want to see in our children. And maybe this makes me seem like a drill sergeant, but I promise I'm not. I just want to be intentional about my parenting and raise strong, respectful, helpful, kind children. I'm a firm believer in positive parenting and attachment parenting, especially because I am a foster parent, but I also believe in giving kids structure and consequences. Let's talk quickly about disobedience. I know some parents are really hard on this and they'll give consequences for direct disobedience, and others think that children should have their own voice and their will, and we should allow them to explore their voice and their will. And I find those type of parents think that the word obedience should only be used in animal training. Here's what I think about obedience, disobedience. I expect my children to be obedient because when I'm asking them to do something, it teaches them to respect authority. I am asking out of a place of love and because it's good for them. However, I do allow my kids to question, and this comes from my attachment parenting training. When you ask your child to do something and they ask why, and you snap back because I said so, I believe this instills something negative in them. That their voice doesn't matter, that they're not allowed to communicate their needs or wants. They are not allowed to be curious. I don't know about you, but I want my kids to be leaders and not followers. Of course, following the Lord, I want them to follow Jesus. That's the only way I want them to follow. But in their role as they grow into adults, I want them to be leaders. I don't want them to be comparing themselves to others. I don't want them to just be following the masses. I want them to stand out and be different and do good. And I believe that sometimes we need to let them be little negotiators when it comes to obedience. Once something is explained once, and depending on the age, sometimes twice, then I expect them to be obedient. And if they are not and they continue to question why I'm asking them to do something that I've already asked in the past and explained, to me, that then becomes talk back. When this task comes around again, I don't need that negotiation to happen. We've already had it. They've been allowed to be curious. They've been allowed to question why. I've explained why. They've accepted why. We don't need to repeat that pattern once it's been explained once, maybe twice. So like I said, that is when I deem talk back. Oh, let me just give you an example because maybe this is confusing you. So I say, go brush your teeth, please. And my child questions, I don't want to do it right now, I'll do it later. And I'll say something like, you need to brush your teeth now because it's almost bedtime and you need to get all the sugar bugs off your teeth so your teeth don't rot and get cavities. So they've been allowed to question. I've given them the reasoning why it's good for them, why I'm asking out of a place of love. We cannot wait until later because the sugar bugs are already eating away at your teeth and we need to get those sugar bugs off so you have nice, healthy, clean teeth. That's one of my jobs as a mommy, to make sure that you have nice, healthy, clean teeth. So please go and brush your teeth now or you will get a fine. I'll explain fines in a little bit. So my answer wasn't because I said so, leaving the child feeling maybe a little bit crushed or like they're not allowed to be curious or they're not allowed to have an opinion. I explained why and I explained it out of a place of love. So in my experience, child then goes and brushes their teeth. And it's not something that comes up again. They know when I say it. Every kid has good and bad days, and maybe it will come up more than once. But for the most part, when I'm asking them to do something and it's something new or they haven't been done before, it just needs to be explained once, and then they know that they need to do it. The next time I say, go and brush your teeth, and they give me a similar answer about they don't want to do it now or why, they get a fine for it. For me, this is a direct consequence. I don't spank my children, believe in any sort of corporal punishment. That's just my parenting style. I know everybody is different, but that is not how I parent. But for us, the fine system works really well for direct consequences. And just remember, parent your kids with grace. We all have bad days. We all need a little grace sometimes. They may question you again. Your kids are growing and learning and making mistakes. So just always remember to parent with a little bit of grace. I'm not saying that you should only ever have to explain it once for every single situation, and then they should be obedient. And if they're not, to give them a fine. There's definitely going to be some gray areas, and just parent with a little bit of grace. So before we get into the fines, I want to discuss the chores a little bit. So like I stated earlier, I believe chores are meant to be done as part of the family. I don't believe kids should be paid to do chores only, because there will become a point where the $2 or $3, whatever it is that you're paying them for that chore, becomes not worth it to them. Your kids are part of your family. Your family is a team. We talk a lot about teamwork. That's only going to help our kids in the future, in their schooling, in their career choices that they make. Teamwork, sports, anything. Teamwork is an important life skill. So we talk a lot about our family being a team and how everyone on the team has roles to play to function positively. So I hope that makes sense, because there's definitely going to come a time where the reward for that chore is not going to be worth it to them, whether that's monetary or whether that's, say, once you do dishes, you get half an hour of screen time, or whatever it may be for you. There's going to come a time where that reward is not worth it for the child. And then where are you left? They're just not going to do the chore. You're going to be struggling with disobedience and disrespect. How are you going to get them to do that chore without yelling or giving them a consequence? As your child grows and gets into the workforce, they're not going to be able to say, you know what, I don't want to do my work today. I don't really care about my paycheck, so I'm just going to leave. Obviously, that's not going to turn out well for them. That's how I approach the chores part of it. Remember, we're raising kids that turn into adults that need to be functioning, contributing members of society. Okay, so finally, let's talk about the fines and rewards. So think about how it works for you now as an adult. You don't obey the law, you get a fine. Or worse, depending on what you don't obey. You don't do your job, you get written up, demoted, fired. You're not kind, respectful, you complain a lot, nobody wants to be around you. You do an outstanding job, you may get a praise or raise or some other type of reward. You're kind, helpful, not complaining, you're happy, people enjoy being around you, they're attracted to you. So on the bottom of the chart, there is an area for fines and rewards, and I don't even do timeouts. I'll explain more about that maybe in another video, because this one's already going to be too long. And I really don't have to give any other sort of consequence other than saying fine now. I'm not a perfect parent. I'm not saying this is a magical chart that's going to solve all of your problems and turn your kids into little unicorns, but it's pretty close. I'm here to help you, provide you with resources, and just simplify motherhood and let you feel less overwhelmed. And that's what this chart has done for me. Anything that works for me, I want to share it with you guys. I've been the yelling, overwhelmed mom who feels like her kids are all over the place and feels like I do nothing but yell, clean, and cry. Trust me, this helps. I'm passionate about building a positive family dynamic. Each member is loving, respectful, and contributing. Now that I've explained it all, let's get into the logistics of it. So these are the responsibility charts. These are clipboard cases. Lilia's is pink and Marissa's is green, their favorite colors. So I love these little clipboards. I've seen other clipboard systems and that's what kind of inspired me, but I wanted a place to keep everything. So inside, let me just take everything out here so I can show you easier. Inside they have 3 Ziploc bags each. That's for their allowance. So inside there is 3 laminated sheets of paper. I did try to self-laminate. I'm just gonna show you my old one. Stuff just doesn't work that well, or I didn't do it right. So I ended up going to Staples and getting them laminated. So they're much sturdier. They work really well. I definitely suggest doing that. I'm gonna leave the link to the blog post where you can get these. So if you want to do it, have my permission from Staples to print these, you can just do it online, send it in and go pick them up. I think it cost like $11 to get 6 sheets laminated. So if you're only doing 1 kid, it'll be probably about $6 or $7. So they have 2 responsibility chart pages. This one here has their daily jobs and their paid jobs. So your jobs might look a little bit different. Put what's most important to me and I think is going to suit the most amount of parents, but there may be things that are different, so you can just simply cross them out and write in something differently. So for example, the daily jobs are jobs that are expected of my children that they do not get any sort of allowance for. This includes chores and responsibilities, such as getting dressed and getting their hair and teeth brushed, prayers, making their bed, bringing things inside from the van. I don't know about you, but I used to constantly be complaining and taking little toys and papers and crap out of the back seat of the van. So bringing things in from the van is their responsibility. That includes their backpack every day, and anything that they take out into the van, they are responsible to bring back in. Unpack their backpack after school, which means putting their dishes into the sink, putting any sheets into their folder. That way I'm organized. I know exactly what homework they have, any sheets that I need to sign, anything like that. Those are all into a designated space that is in the kitchen. They hang their backpacks up right beside it, as well as their lunch bags. So everything is clean and organized, and the dishes are in the sink for me to wash and help them pack their lunch a little bit later in the night. Pick up their toys. So for me, this is the area I have to give the most grace, because I've said, you know, if you leave stuff on the floor, then it's going in the garbage. And I've discovered I'd be wasting a lot of money and gifts that people have bought for them, because that is an area that they do struggle a little bit. So this is the area where I really have to focus on giving some grace, but we're working on it and it is improving. But picking up their toys before they go on to the next activity. Homework, dishes, they're responsible for putting their dishes in the sink, putting them into the dishwasher, and then sometimes at dinner time, they're responsible for hand washing some of the family dishes, not just their own. And then pack lunch. I help them with this still, as they're only 5 and 7, but they can do quite a bit of it themselves if I kind of pre-prepare. Those are their daily jobs, things that they're expected to do no matter what. Next, we have paid jobs. So I have clean room. Now, when I say clean room, you can see on the daily job, there's things like make bed and pick up toys. The room should always be constantly picked up. I'm not paying them to do that. But when I have clean room here, I mean doing the vacuuming, doing the dusting of all the surfaces, changing the sheets. So this is assigned a value. They do get paid when they clean their whole room. The next is clean the bathroom. Another is put away clothes, empty the dishwasher, sweep the floor, dust and wipe tables, clean the entryway or foyer for those of you in the States, clean the living room, fold laundry, windows and mirrors, garbage and recycling, and clean the kitchen. And again, that's not just doing dishes, but that's scrubbing down the table and the counters, washing the floor, all of that. So sometimes the bigger ones I will help them with, but as long as they do a good majority, they are assigned a value to it. Values range from $1 or 25 cents or 50 cents. They're all assigned different values. So for the bigger ones, like cleaning their room, their bathroom, the living room, or the kitchen, that's a full $1. For things like garbage or recycling that they're going to be doing every day, like Marissa's job is to take the recycling out from our kitchen down to the garage and sorting it into the bins, that's 25 cents. Doing the windows and mirrors, so that would be on one whole floor of our house. So much the high windows because they can't reach them. One big mirror and then a big patio door and a big window. So that is a 50-cent job. Folding the laundry is a 50-cent job. Sweeping the floor is a 25-cent job. So the next section is fines and bonuses. So like I said earlier, what to me are fines are whining, talk back, disrespect, disobedience, and getting out of their seat without being excused / table manners. I don't want my kids to just get up and run around when they are at the table. They're expected to sit, especially at dinner time. We sit as a family. We have no tech at the table, and they know that they need to thank the person who made them dinner, to be excused, and then to immediately take their dishes to the sink. And if we ask them to clear the other members of the family, then they have to do that as well. So those are the 5 things that they will get fines for if they don't do consistently. Bonuses for being kind, helpful, excellent listening, putting others first, and good table manners. So this is when you see your kid going above and beyond. And the more they get bonuses for this, the more you're going to see them trying to do it because they want to get bonuses. So fines are minus 25 cents and bonuses are plus 25 cents. So I expect my kids to be kind. I'm not dishing out quarters all day long for them being kind. But when they kind of go above and beyond, or they say something really kind, or a sibling gets hurt and they go and do something special to make them feel good, that's the kind of kindness that I'm talking about in the bonus section. Not just your everyday, don't be a jerk kind of kind. And helpful when they ask to help me with the dishes, or mommy, can I help you change the laundry, or something like that. When they're really being intentional about being helpful or being excellent listening, putting others first, good table manners, when there's really an intention behind that, that's when they get the bonus. The more that you reward them for these bonuses, the more I find that they actually do. So that is the responsibility chart here. Next part of the responsibility chart is how we determine their allowance. So like I said, their daily jobs they're expected to do, but if they do their daily jobs, they're kids and they're still learning, like I said, If they do all of their daily jobs every single day without needing to be asked, they do get a bonus for that. So for that whole week, if they do everything right on that daily jobs list, they get an extra $1. So they have their daily jobs bonus for $1. Their paid jobs, we calculate what they got. Their fines, how many fines did they get that week? Their bonuses, how many bonuses, of course, and then that total. So there's 4 weeks worth. So I really like that there's 4 weeks worth, a whole month's worth, so the kids can kind of compare and see how they did. If they had a poor week, it encourages them to do better. So they can kind of compare themselves. This is not you comparing them, but they can see themselves that last week they made $4 and this week they did extra things, so they made $6. And maybe they'll set a little competition for themselves and try to do even more chores so they get more dollars. So this is a really good visual for them to have 4 weeks laid out in a row. The sheet I have in there is the cleaning checklist. So they can take this, it's laminated, they can take it to the bathroom, to the sink, whatever, it doesn't matter if it gets wet. They can take this and they have exactly what they need to do in the big areas of cleaning. Those are the 3 little laminated sheets that were in there. Why I think this little clipboard is so valuable is because I've tried to do stuff like this before, but when it wasn't all in one space, the bags would be lost and in a different space, or the sheets would be not back where they belonged, or they couldn't find the marker. So I love that these clipboards have this little storage part that you can keep everything inside. I think this is a huge key as to why we can be consistent with it, where other systems didn't work out so well because we'd be losing things. It just wasn't all in the same place. They have their 3 bags. So they have their spending bag, their tithing bag, and their saving bag. So they are expected to tithe 10% no matter what. They're more than welcome to put more in there if they want. For us, we just say this is money for God, this is money for the Lord, this is money for church. That's really just how we've explained it to them so far for their ages, how they understand. Saving is long-term saving. So if they want to do a family trip or, a night at Great Wolf Lodge or something big, that is for their savings, as well as big things like school, things that we as adults are saving for, we want to encourage them to also help save for. So anything big, they'll go into their savings. So after we've done the 10%, 45% goes into saving and 45% goes into spending if they want. So they'll take their long-term savings bag once it gets a little bit full and then transfer it to their piggy bank. So the way they can use their spending money is they can use it the very next day to buy an ice cream cone or a dollar store toy or whatever, or they can continue saving their spending money in order to get a larger toy, something big that they really want, something that I'm not going to buy for them. So those 3 plastic bags go in there. Finally, a dry erase marker. So they take their marker with them when they're, for example, say they're going into the bathroom to clean. They take their marker and they can check off the checklist. So they put everything away. They organize the bottles. The kids love doing the checking. They make a big deal. Sometimes they draw shapes, whatever it may be, and then it's simply erased for the next week. So we have the days of the week here. So instead of stickers or anything like that, just makes it easy and simple with this dry erase marker. Did they get dressed, do their hair and teeth? Prayers, did they make their bed, bring things in from the van, whatnot, and they just check it all the way across. If they don't do something, they put an X there. For example, on Saturday and Sunday, they don't need to unpack their backpack because they're not at school. So on Saturday and Sunday, I just draw a line through it. When we are starting fresh, after we've calculated our allowance for the week, I'll draw lines on the days that things aren't expected of them, such as that. Or if they weren't out in the car that day, for example, it was a snow day, we didn't go out in the car, there was nothing to bring in from the van, then at the end of the day, I'll just mark that off like that. And like I said, if there's any X's on here, they don't get that extra $1 bonus for completing the whole thing. Down there, we just do tally marks for being kind or their bonuses or whatnot. I haven't really had to get into too many tally marks for fines. My kids have been really good since implementing this system. As long as I stay consistent with it and remember to check things off at the end of the night, they get excited about it. Kids can really adapt to structure and routine a lot easier than adults can. So as long as you're consistent with this for even a couple of weeks, your kids will start reminding you, oh, we didn't do our allowance. Oh, we didn't check our things off this week. So it's really important to just really be consistent with it in the beginning, because your kids are then going to remind you and allow you to stay being consistent with it. So anyways, I hope this responsibility chart helps you. I'll leave the blog post link down below where you can get this responsibility chart, where you can get these printables. Feel free to make your own, cross things out, write things in differently if your priorities aren't the same as mine, or you don't believe in something that I do, whatever, but you still want to use bits of the system, feel free. Like I said, you have my permission to get it printed and laminated at Staples. You can do that online. But yeah, I hope you find it helpful. I found it really, really helpful to me as a mom. I found I am not yelling at my kids, nagging at my kids. Yelling is something I've always struggled with just from the way I was raised. And I just want to be better and I want to do better and I hate yelling at my kids. So my kids also know that they can correct me on things, and some people might not agree with that. But if I'm yelling, Lilia will say, "Mommy, be kind and sweet." And she'll just say it like that. And it's just a check and a reminder for me, and I appreciate that. I apologize to my kids when I make mistakes or I get upset, or, I'm not being on my best behavior, because I think it's important that your kids see that in you as well. Obviously, you are the authority over your child, but I think there was an era where it was a big disconnect. Don't speak unless spoken to. I'm the parent, you're the child, you respect me, don't ask questions, nothing. And then I think the pendulum swung the other way, where it was like, kids first, give my kid the world, give my kid everything. My kid doesn't need consequences. They need to know they're loved and secure. And I think, our generation is kind of trying to get a little bit more balance. And that's certainly what I'm trying to do as a parent, is just to be a little bit more balanced, because I have done so much training on the attachment parenting style because of foster care, because parenting foster children is very different than parenting your own children. And I know a lot of foster parents watch this, so I should say that as a little side. This system might not work for our foster. And it's time to go pick up the kids. That's another system rhythm routine that I've implemented. I do time blocking, so I'll save that for another video. I forget where I was going before that buzzing interrupted me, but just trying to be intentional with my parenting. For us as parents, for the next generation, I think it's a great responsibility that we have. We've seen what doesn't work, and let's try to implement what does work. So I really hope this system works for you. If it does, or if you do something similar, comment, let me know down below. Let me know if I'm alone. I crave structure and routine. It just helps me be a better parent. It helps my kids be better with their behaviors. It helps them to be more responsible. It really, really works for us. So I have worked a long time on developing this system, and I hope it's really helpful for you. Again, check the blog post below. Give this video a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new. I would love to have you, and I will see you guys on the next video. I'm off to get the kids from school. Bye.